some of those numbers in a few minutes, but I'd like to welcome John O'Sullivan to the stage. John is the development manager, or the manager of development at SCAI, and has worn a number of hats over the years, not least of which is the coordinator or the leader for the ISO 50001 guide, which is called ISO 50004. So it's nice to see Ireland's leadership in this area being recognised, and certainly the long number of years of work that have been done by SCAI and by John in particular on these standards globally. Over to you, John.
Thanks very much, Conor. Okay, so thanks very much, everybody, for hanging on this evening to listen. Delighted to be here. Thanks for inviting me to speak here today. I'm really happy to be here. What I'd like to talk to you today about, and actually the last two speakers segues nicely into this, in fact, is that we have recently developed a new Irish management system standard on energy efficient design management. So I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that, a little bit about the background and maybe the benefits of it and how you can use it. It's actually a very new standard. It was only published in August, just gone. So most people don't know about it yet because we actually haven't even done a public launch yet. We're planning to do a public launch of it the first week in December, actually, in Diageo, actually. So anybody who might be interested after this to get an invite to that, please let me know. We'll be doing a lot more work in terms of presentations and case studies at that event. I suppose as a little bit of gift for those that did stay on, I do have a few copies. So maybe at the end of the presentation, if anybody wants to put up their hand, maybe Ronan can randomly select from the five. If we get five that might put up their hand to receive it. Can I just ask how much I have, because I don't want to prevent people from leaving it.
I think you've about, say, 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, so first of all, I suppose just to say, why did we develop, or as the slide says, why develop a new standard? So why did we go about developing a new standard? A number of years ago, back in 2008, and also again we revised it in 2011. We recognised that energy efficient design, and specifically energy efficient design management, was a weakness in Ireland, regardless of whether you had an energy management system or not. So we developed this methodology with industry, for industry, and we supported a number of projects around that time and up to the recent times were involved. And this is just to give you an example of the effect or the possible impacts that you can have by implementing the spirit of this methodology, which is a very simple, structured process that you go through. The first project that we were involved with was Eli Lilly. It was a new biotech facility down in Kinsale, and they reported an annual energy saving benefit arising from this process of 30%. White no longer exists. That's why I put it in grey and in italics. But we actually did get involved with them in a new pharmaceutical development centre that unfortunately never really it did open, but obviously Pfizer has since taken them over. But actually, they from a detailed design stage, they reported an annual energy savings benefit of 51% based on the work. Obviously, it very much depends on the baseline, the original baseline. It's not all about greenfield plants or brownfield plants, but also looking inside a business. We sponsored a project with Astellas down in Clorglan, and they were putting in place a new blister packaging line. So it's very much a typical thing that people do. They go out and they buy bespoke equipment that's provided by a specialist supplier. So this was a process where they challenged the supplier to use the methodology, and they benefited from a 19% annual energy saving benefit arising from that. And then the other two I have here, Nipro, 23% on a new clean room expansion project, upgrade project. And actually recently we haven't been involved in this project at all, other than sharing the methodology with them. Diageo, everybody is probably driven by the new brewery in St James's Gate, their fourth brewery in Ireland. and they won our Energy Award last year for their leadership category for this, and they reported for our awards a saving of 2.5 million a year, which is very significant. So this is the reason why I'm here. This was the reason why we developed this standard. We wanted to reach farther than a methodology on the SEI website could reach by standardizing the method. Very, very briefly, I'm just going to throw this up. It's not inside my 15 minutes, so I'm not going to keep it here that long. But just to say that we very much support and endorse the Origin Green brand, its objective, its initiative. And clearly, we're in this business for quite a long time. We've got a large industry energy network that's 20 years old next year. And, we certainly want to help anybody that wants to engage in energy management, and we will help you through that process. This slide, which is obviously available after this event, anybody can look at the left-hand side and obviously the established programs, and can decide based on where you are in terms of energy spend, what is the type of program that you want to investigate with SEI to get involved with. And it ranges from anybody who's a micro business right up to a large energy intensive user. For those that are a large energy intensive user, we very much support and recommend the support of a certified energy management system, as John Ryan has already referred to in his presentation, ISO 50001, and we provide supports and services around that within an energy efficiency network, which is our large industry energy network. We, as I said, we have been in this business a long time. The LIN network is 20 years next year. And since that time, this is just showing some of the evolution of our supports and programs for large industry. Most notably is our entry in 2005, IS 393, which was our own Irish energy management system. Subsequently integrated into our energy agreements program in 2006, which is still ongoing. And then in 2009, we transitioned over to EN 16001. 2011 transitioned over to ISO 50001, and actually since then we have developed, although we haven't launched it yet, an energy management maturity model, which is more about what happens after you're certified. We've developed that back then, and we're currently developing a little system that you might be able to avail of on our website, where you can bring yourself through this assessment process. You'll hear more about that next year. And we developed our energy efficient design management system. So in our target area program development next year is very much to deploy these new tools, these new resources, our energy management maturity model, which is very much about how you integrate and optimize energy management into your business as a business improvement methodology. And obviously our design standard that I'm going to talk to you about right now. Just to let you know as well, there is also about another 5 ISO standards being released, which are guidance standards, of which we are project leading one of those, which is ISO 50004, which is guidance for implementation, maintenance and continual improvement of your management system. And again, we'll be integrating these standards into our program next year. So to get on to my theme, it's about the Irish Management System Standard. As I said already, it published in 2014. It's available at standards.ie right now, even though we haven't launched it. It's about energy efficient design management. It's not necessarily energy efficient design, which is a very technical term. It's not labeling. It doesn't label buildings. It doesn't label products. But it intends to cater for how you can incorporate an energy efficient design process into your standard design procedures. We produce this, as I said already. It's not a product that we're just putting out to you saying this is what you need. It was developed with industry, both those that are energy consumers, also engineering design companies, energy consultants, Engineers Ireland, for example, engineering institutions were involved. So it's developed with them, so hopefully is done right and serves the needs of the discipline. We defined energy efficient design as being a mixture of these things. I've just underlined in green the important aspects of this, which is it's a mixture of organisation, processes, guiding principles and control implemented in design projects for the purpose of reducing life cycle energy costs. This is a weakness in 50001. John, I'm not sure if you agree with me on this. We saw this some time ago, that energy efficient design, or design actually, is just one subclause within operational control of 50001. Typically, it doesn't reside within the operations that has 50001. The design discipline very often belongs somewhere else or is owned somewhere else, and the operating unit may not have sufficient influence or very limited influence on the design, even if it's something that they're going to take ownership of once it has been released. So it is a weakness, and we try to address that. In terms of strategy, though, it also is very important to Ireland in terms of us meeting our energy efficiency targets. The numbers that we spoke about already is that, you know, it is possible between 20 and 30% on a baseline design has already been demonstrated that is very possible. So you can imagine, you know, the effect that can have on our energy efficiency targets, especially when you take into account the lock-in effect that happens with any new design. Typically you design it, if you don't get it right during that time-bound period, then you're into the expensive game of retrofitting afterwards. It supports jobs, it supports enterprise, and it supports competitiveness, obviously by sustaining existing employment through being more competitive, but also maybe facilitating continued investment in Ireland. The projects that we're involved with, it does reduce or can reduce capital costs, because it challenges over design or over specification, and clearly it gives us an opportunity to export energy efficient design services in order for us to be able to respond to global demand for sustainability strategies, and obviously to increase its uptake and establish this as a new norm. Its application, actually, it's not just for energy consumers, but we define what we call a design value chain. So any stakeholder that's within the design process actually can take this on, and so it's applicable for any sector, any organisation, or any project. You just design your management system standard, your management system around it. It is easy to implement. It shouldn't, and certainly should be implemented in a way that it doesn't affect project risk in terms of schedule and budget. It complements and other strategies around energy abatement, and it's a standardized management approach that a company can take on. It's intended then, obviously, that it's a process that a company will implement PAN projects, and also in doing so continually improve as they continually invest. In terms of, it is very much about life cycle impact, life cycle energy consumption and upfront capital investment are optimised. The measure of success is very much avoided energy consumption. We've introduced new concepts in the standard. Design for energy performance. Even me just saying it, I'm sure you can probably understand what that means. It's very much aligned to energy performance, which is the requirement of ISO 50001. We've also introduced a new term which is called design for energy management, which very often is forgotten about. It's probably very unfair to say for engineering design companies that may be here, but where an organisation that's a user gets involved or has some involvement in the design, their requirements for energy management can be taken into account during the energy management process. And also we define new organisational structures around it. So hopefully with this we have structured energy management right from conception of a project right through effectively to retirement, through IS 399 and then ISO 50001, where at the moment we only have structured energy management from the point of the take-up of 50001. And it certainly provides the best return on investment. Typically, you lower your investment costs, actually, and obviously you're investing in energy efficiency from the very start.
So, John, 2 minutes.
Okay. So obviously then the energy performance of your management system ideally will continue to improve over time. It's very much step functional improvement. The quality of the energy efficient design services improves. It's easier. We get earlier owner engagement, and also there's a natural transition to energy management thereafter. Again, briefly, just to show that the management system model, it is based on the Plan, Do, Check, Act continual improvement model. But in the model, we've pulled aside what's called Clause 8, which is operation. And really the intent here is that even though it would be nice to have companies certify themselves to this standard, in the interest of extending the reach of this standard, you can just implement the requirements of this in a discrete project, and therefore you just look at the requirements of Clause 8 operation, and there's 6 sub-clauses within that. The structure that we have defined then, the larger of these two diagrams here is showing the design project organisation, which shows 2 new roles, an energy efficient design owner and an energy efficient design expert. The intent of these 2 new roles is to facilitate the process. So the energy efficient design owner is accountable to top management and is accountable for implementing the requirements of the standard within the design project application. And the energy efficient design expert is a new role which is intended to be responsible for the day-to-day execution, coordination and management of the energy efficient design activities. Very important person in this project. They act autonomously to the design team, and they're intended to to challenge existing norms in the design processes. The suggested sequence is here as follows, that as early as possible you start out with an energy efficient design project execution plan. The project execution plan is intended to decide up front important things such as what are your communication requirements, what is the payback criterion by which energy efficient design initiatives can be implemented, what are your energy management requirements, etc., etc. We then have a design for energy performance process, which is a 3-stage process, which is an energy balance study, which then defines the baseline. There's a challenge and analyze phase, which is obviously where you define the opportunities and go through the exercise to determine their feasibility. And there's an implementation step. In parallel to that, there's a design for energy management process, which looks at things like energy performance deterioration, looks at energy variables review, and things like that really could be taken into account at the design stage. At the end of the process, it is recorded in the form of an energy efficient design summary report. I'm going to flash through a few. I've covered a few of these things in the interest of finishing. So, just to summarise, I just encourage you to learn more about the standard. I do think there's something very, very good here. Ideally, it's implemented in a way that it's integrated with 50001 if you're an energy consumer, and it's integrated with ISO 9001 if you're providing energy efficient design as a service, and it's designed that way that it is readily integratable. Consider your application, therefore, of it. We're very happy to support its application. Next year you'll hear more about this, but certainly through the Energy Services Framework we can support that financially. It certainly should lead to significant avoided energy consumption, and it will lower the initial baseline from which energy management then starts later. So thank you very much for